Hello, in this video I'm taking a look at the new rules for the driving test coming in summer 2023, which will have a massive impact on both learners and instructors. Quite simply, if you're doing a driving test after summer 2023, you might have to supply your own car for a test because your driving instructor won't want to take you. But what's all this about? Well, let's get straight into it, and I have got some new up-to-date information. I'm going to go over the official website and give you links to it and all that. But let's get into this. What's going on? What's happening is that for the last couple of years, the DVSA have had this thing where they want to record the statistics for all driving tests done by driving instructors. And what they've said is that if an instructor's statistics drop below a certain level, then that instructor will either face doing their tests again, or they could just have their license to teach revoked. They'll be removed from the ADI register. That's the approved driving instructor register. This, of course, has spooked many instructors, but there's been a solution up until now, because the law states, and if you can bear with me, you might be thinking, oh, this is not going to affect me. It will if you're a learner or instructor. Bear with me. So please understand that up until now, the law has been that a driving instructor only has to display their badge in a car when they're giving paid tuition. But a driving test isn't paid tuition. So therefore, when you take people for a driving test, you can just remove your badge from the car and the results aren't recorded. And even if they are, it doesn't matter anyway, because they're just for the instructor's feedback. So we can request the data and look at it and think, oh yeah, a lot of my pupils are failing on this, so I need to work on that. So it's been a handy tool for instructors. And it used to be you got the data sent to you in the post every year up until about 2002 or 3. They stopped doing that. But anyway, what's happening is they are now planning on changing the law so that instructors have to display their badge on the driving test. What this means is that no instructor is going to want to do a driving test, which is why if you are learning to drive, you might find that from within a few months' time, if this all happens, because it's not definite yet, but if this stuff comes in, you may well have to take your own car for a test, because quite simply, driving instructors are going to be too scared to take you. Now, of course, everyone says, well, isn't this just going to affect bad instructors? No. If you don't know who I am, my name's Paul, and I've been a driving instructor for over 20 years. I've taught over 1,000 people to drive. I've trained hundreds, probably thousands of instructors. Many driving instructors up and down the UK use my videos for their pupils, for their training. I've trained hundreds of instructors who have got top grades and gone on to run their own business. So I am at the forefront of raising instructor standards. I was one of the first instructors on YouTube, and I'm sorry to be blowing my own trumpet, but I'm just telling you how much I'm into instructor standards. I'm all about raising instructor standards, but this is not going to do that, because let's look at the real reason they're doing this, because it's not about raising standards. The reason they're doing this is because of 2020, driving test wait times went really, really bad. At the moment, where I am in Birmingham, you can still have to wait at least 6 months to get a test. I've still got pupils now that were learning in 2019 and just cannot get a test. 4 years they've been just wanting to get a test. So the DVSA did a lot to cut the waiting times, but it didn't work. So now they're getting kind of tough and saying, right, the waiting times, and there's two sides to this story. The DVSA say that the reason they're doing this is too many pupils are going for tests when they're not at the required standard. That's putting strain on an already strained system, and the waiting times are too long. I completely understand that, but there is an alternative reason they're doing this. And this theory is the only reason they're doing it is because they want to cut the waiting times so that they meet targets and they don't get in trouble themselves, because if the waiting times are too long, the DVSA themselves get in trouble from the government. So the idea is to scare everyone who's an instructor into, I'm not taking people for a test, no way, I'm not going to lose my job, I'm not going to book any tests, I'm not going to take anyone. No one will book tests, the waiting times will collapse, problem solved. That's the other theory. Which one of those you believe is up to you. Maybe it's a bit of both, I don't know. But this is why you may have to supply your own car for a driving test, because quite simply, if your instructor takes you for a test and you fail, your instructor could lose the job. So on top of all the pressure you've got anyway on a driving test, as if it wasn't bad enough, you've now got to throw this on top, knowing that if you fail, you might just put your instructor on the streets, which of course makes you more nervous, which makes you fail, which makes the standards go down and down and down. It's a self-defeating prophecy. So that's the problem. Most instructors, and I don't care what instructors say about, I'll still take my pupils because I'm a good instructor. Well, you wait. If you're one of those instructors, you wait till you have 2 fails in a row, then 3, then 4. I don't think I'm feeling so confident now. Because it's not your fault. A pupil failing a test is not the instructor's fault. I also work, if you don't know, as a hypnotherapist, so I understand the mind, how it works. I help people all over the world overcome anxiety, people who have panic attacks, people who have been in crashes and whatever. I work with them online, doing hypnotherapy online, and I know from that the main thing people fail tests on is nerves, and official figures from the DVSA show, I think these figures are rubbish, they say only 1 in 10 tests is failed because of nerves. Rubbish. 1 in 10, it's probably 9 in 10, if not 10 in 10. People get nervous. If you've ever done a driving test, were you nervous? If you say no, you're lying, right? I don't get nervous about things. I've done all kinds of crazy things in my life. I've flown around the world on my own. I've been in haunted caves a mile underground on my own, looking for this ghost. I've done all kinds of things. I've trained in martial arts. I've been in all sorts of situations and scrapes. Even I was nervous on my driving test. It gets everyone, and if it doesn't, there's probably something wrong with you. But anyway, everyone gets a bit of nerves. It's different to anxiety where you have an all-out panic attack, but everyone gets a bit of nerves on the test. But this is the problem. They want to punish instructors for pupils failing. And let's move on now to looking at what they say. So I want to read out, this is from the official DVSA website, and I'll link to this in the description. So the way this all works is it's something called triggers. So I'm going to read this from here. I'm sorry if I can't look at you, but I'm looking at this. This is section 1. What DVSA monitors? The Driver and Vehicle Standards Agency, DVSA, monitors 4 indicators about approved driving instructors, ADIs. I won't read all this, but I'm going to summarise it. The indicators use data from the driving test your pupils have taken in the last 12 months on a rolling basis. The data is for pupils you bought for a car driving test where your ADI badge certificate was in the windscreen. It will include every driving test centre you've used. So in other words, this is for instructors that teach learners. They have said it will not affect instructors that do instructor training or fleet training where you work with companies. It's only for learners, and it will only be in the last 12 months. So even if it comes in, it's going to take 12 months to get going. So there are 4 triggers. I'm going to skip through some of this, but there are 4 triggers that trigger off a bad instructor who needs training. So what I look for is the average number of driving faults per test. So it's not about just pass fail. It's not that simple. I look for the average number of driving faults per test, the average number of serious faults per test, the percentage of tests where the driving examiner had to take physical action in the interests of public safety and your overall pass rate. So the triggers, and this is where they made one concession, because they did say it was a bit too tough. They said that if a pupil gets 5 or more marks on a test, it's a trigger. Now, to put that into context, you're allowed 15 driver faults on a driving test. And if you get a 16th, you fail that test. But it's rarely ever a problem. I think I've only probably had 2 or 3 people in all the years I've been doing this, that have had 16 faults. Most people, I'd say, pass with about 5, 6, 7. So they had set the standard at 5, and they've realised that's too tough, and they've raised it to 6. So that's one trigger. If you get 0.55 or more serious faults in a test, which I'll explain in a moment, that's the trigger. If 10% or more of your tests have physical action taken by the examiner, like going for the wheel or the pedals, that's a trigger. And if your pass rate is 55% or lower, that's the trigger. So if you reach 3 or more of these, they'll write to you to ask you to book a standards check. So I won't go over all of this, but I'm going to read you one of the examples of what would trigger a standards check. So you take 30 pupils for 30 driving tests in the last 12 months. Across all 30 tests, your pupils make a combined total of 255 driving faults. This is an average of 8.5 per test, 255 divided by 30. Across all 30 tests, your pupils made a combined total of 17 serious driving faults. This is an average of 0.57 per test, 17 divided by 30. Can anyone see what the problem is with all this? Across all 30 tests, driving examiners had to take physical action in 3. This is 10% of tests, 3 divided by 30 multiplied by 100. In total, 18 of the 30 tests were passes and 12 were fails. This is a pass rate of 60%, 18 divided by 30 multiplied by 100. You will need to take a standards check because 3 of the 4 triggers have been met. What a load of rubbish. Right. I know from my work in therapy, and I know from studying martial arts and the great Bruce Lee, who said things like, you can't have a rigid structure, right? You can't put things into boxes. I'm not going to get too much off topic, but I'm just going to briefly talk why therapy works, why hypnotherapy works. People say, I've been to see someone and it didn't work because they asked me, do you get scared in this situation? Yep, and they tick a box. Do you get scared when this happens? No. It doesn't work. It's too rigid. That's why it fails, because you cannot put things into boxes like this. It's like saying, why do you love someone? Why do you love your partner? You can't answer that. It's an emotion, a feeling. You can't summarize it in a sentence and tick boxes. Is it because they're tall? Is it because they are whatever? You can't do that. You can't put instructors into boxes because people did this, an X amount of faults did this, and the examiner did this, and this. It doesn't tell you anything. It's rubbish. Bruce Lee said, he was all saying, be water, adapt to a situation, never be rigid. That's why he was unbeatable, because if you fought Bruce Lee, you'd have your fixed rules of karate and whatever, which I've trained in, so I know. And he'd beat you because he didn't have rules. He was flexible. He didn't have statistics and rules. He would adapt to whatever the situation was. In therapy, you adapt to what the situation is. You can't have these stupid tick boxes of, did the instructor do this? Yes. Did they do this? No. Result, bad instructor, punish them. Rubbish. There's something else that's really important about this I've got to say, so I'm filming this as an insert after I've just made that video. But for me, a driving test has always been about feedback. Is it not the case that when you take people for a driving test, It shouldn't be about passing and failing. It's about feedback. So sometimes I've said to pupils, okay, maybe you're not going to pass, but you're safe enough to go and do it. So go and do it. We'll get a separate opinion of your driving, and then we'll do some more lessons. And if you don't pass, we'll work on what the examiner picks up on. Well, apparently that's wrong. You can't do that because they only want perfection. It's about you must pass. If you don't pass, you're rubbish. You shouldn't have done it. You've got to pass. It's all about passing. And now we've got to teach people to pass. Safe driving has gone out the window. Forget that. It's about passing. It's like when you check your blind spot. Why am I checking my blind spot? Because you'll fail your test if you don't. That's what we're going to tell people now. Not because someone might be there, you might cause a crash. No, it's all about passing. Pass, pass, pass. Pass quotas, pass rates. Must get them passed. Safe driving gone out the window. It's not about that anymore. It's not about teaching people to be good. It's about teaching them to pass the test. So anyway, back to the video. Just wanted to add that bit in. All that's going to happen with these statistics, if they bring it in, is driving instructors are going to cherry pick the best pupils. So if I'm teaching someone and they're not very good, I'll either keep teaching them but will never take them for a test, or I'll just say, well, I'm going to dump you by not teaching you. No, you're rubbish. You've got anxiety. You're rubbish. Oh, you've got a disability. No thanks. You're going to fail. You're going to cost me my job. You're not very good. Oh, you get nervous when you drive. No thanks. And all of these best instructors, because people will be looking up the best instructors with the best pass rates and the best grades. They'll be the people that just cherry pick the best pupils. They're not the best instructors. What about someone like me who will teach anyone? You've got anxiety? Great. You've got nerves? Great. You've been in a massive car crash, you need therapy? Great. I'll help you. Oh, that instructor's terrible. His pass rate's low. Punish him. He doesn't deserve to be teaching. What a load of absolute rubbish. Right. These rules are going to cause chaos because the best instructors, such as myself, will just leave. I don't even need to be doing this. And I don't. I can just say, right, screw all that. I'm off. The worst instructors who cherry pick all the best pupils and fix it and fiddle the figures will be the ones that look great and on paper it's brilliant. There's a great saying, was it Mike Tyson I think said this, something like, everyone's got a plan until they get hit. I love that saying. It's like, everyone thinks on paper, I can do this. I know how to beat this person on paper. You get in the ring, you get smacked in the face. Now where's your plan on paper? It's gone flying out the window along with your teeth. On paper, theoretical rubbish and statistics from number crunchers in offices who've never even done the job doesn't work. It does not work. This is going to cause mayhem. So the way it's going to work is instructors are simply going to say, right, I'll teach you, but I'm not taking you for a test. So you're going to need to get your own car, hire one, go in your parents' car, whatever. And that makes all of this pointless. Because how are they going to record statistics? Well, they can't, because I'm not even taking you for a test. And you'll get instructors that lie. They'll say, oh yeah, I'll take you for a test. Oh yeah, I'm good. I don't care about that. They'll take all your money for months of lessons. And then guess what happens the week before your test? I broke my leg. I can't take it. I broke my leg. Or my car's broken down. I'm not feeling very well. Or actually, I don't think you're ready. You need to pay me another £2,000 for lessons. It's going to cause mayhem. Right, this is never going to work. And I won't go on for much longer because I could talk about this for hours, but I've got so much to say. It isn't definitely coming in, but it's 90% certain because they've had a consultation. As usual, they took everyone's opinion, ignored it, pushed ahead anyway. What they always seem to do. It's now going through Parliament and being voted on by people who have never been instructors, never been examiners, know nothing about the industry, and they're voting on whether or not it should be done. Yeah, brilliant. So I'm making this video to make you aware of this, because some of the best instructors are talking about this, and I've been talking about this for years. But many instructors are hiding this. It's like, oh, don't talk about that. It's bad for business. I don't care if it's bad for business, because I don't need the business. I can train instructors. I do my therapy work. Don't need it. So I can be open and honest. I don't have to hide things. And if you're coming to me for lessons, I'll probably send you this video to watch. So bear in mind, nothing's certain yet, but you may have to take your own car for a test because you're not doing your mine. But what happens if I don't get this? What if I'm not there? What if you get in my car and I've just left it parked at the centre, and you get in my car and do a test? Then I come back and drive it off later. I haven't taken you for a test, so how are they going to assess me? And how, if they say, oh, this is Paul's car, yeah, but I'm not there. I've lent it to you so you can do a test. How are they going to get around that? What if an instructor is genuinely ill, or they genuinely have broken a leg, and I'm taking a pupil for a test for them? Well, then I get the fail, or I get the pass, so I look great, and I haven't even told them. What a laughable situation. And I'd like to say one final point I'll make is about standards checks. It's never going to work, right? If you don't know, the way it works is when you're a driving instructor, you get one of two grades. You get a grade A if you're seen as being good. A grade B is that they're both good, but a grade A is like better than a grade B. Wow, you're better because you're a grade A, because you got 1 point more than someone who got a grade B. But anyway, there's A and B. If you get a grade A, you're supposed to have a standards check every 4 years. A grade B is supposed to be every 2 years. Or the other way to look at it is for every badge you've had, which lasts for 4 years, you have to do a standards check. They are so far behind on the checks, they can't even keep up with them as they are. Do you know when my last standards check was? It's now 2023. My last standards check was 2016. 7 years ago. Because I haven't even got the staff, they can't even keep up. There are so many instructors, and they're saying that not only are they going to do that, so it's like 7 years at least between tests. I mean, when I first had my qualification, it was 6 years till my first one. And I remember I told the examiner, and he went, 6 years? And my next one was only 2 years away, and I thought, oh, we must have changed the system, it must have fixed it. My next one was 5 years, now it's been 7. How are they going to fit these standards checks in? How are they ever going to keep up with the hundreds of instructors on top of the ones they can't even do now? It's never going to work. And if you think, oh, well, I'm going to go and report you, I'll get you a standards check, please do, because you can't. I've been asking for a standards check for years, and they've said, we appreciate you asking for one, but you can't be given one. You have to wait your turn. You can't get a standards check. I've even asked the examiner face to face in the test centre. I went in, I saw him, and I went up because I knew he was the examiner that does standards checks. And I said to him, can you get me a standards check? And they said, I'll see what I can do. That was, 3 years ago? You can't get one. No matter what you do, you can't even buy them. You can't even give them money to get you a standards check. I would love to have a standards check, because on the last one, the examiner did something wrong, which I've spoke about in other videos, and I got a grade B, and I've been stuck with that grade B, which I don't really care, A or B, for 7 years. I also don't even want to be doing this anymore, so I wish I could have a standards check now, get it done, pass, forget it for years, to concentrate on my therapy work, instead of now having to limp along keeping the odd people on here and there, just in case a standards check comes up. It's horrible. So how are they going to keep up with these standards checks? I've met instructors who they haven't had one for 10 years, and all this rubbish about they're going to give you a standards check. How are you going to do that? You're going to suddenly take on 10 times as many examiners to do standards checks. Well, good luck with that. So I'll leave it there for now, because this video is now, I don't know, 26 or something minutes long. I can't really see the screen that well. But it's going to be a mess, and the best instructors are going to be leaving. They're going to just quit because it's just got so messed up. And I do get so passionate about this. Every time I do these videos, I get hiccups because I get so passionate talking about it. Love to know your thoughts on this, and there will be an update coming soon. They say it will be decided summer 2023, so expect an update probably about March 2024 from the DVSA, because they tend to be months behind with things. But anyway, that's where we are for now, and that's why you may find it hard to find an instructor, because a lot are leaving, a lot are saying, screw this, it's not worth it anymore. Or you might just have to take your own test, which kind of defeats the whole point. And I really hope in a way that the whole system collapses. I hope the DVSA get what I want. I hope that everybody just stops booking tests and the whole system collapses. Wouldn't it be funny if they had no tests booked at all and no one was booking them because every instructor said, right, pupils aren't ready, we're not going to let them book a test. And all their income stopped and they got no money. I wonder what they'd do then. Anyway, check out these other videos on the screen for more help with your driving and anxiety. Do subscribe to my channel, check out my website for more news on this. Thanks for watching, and as always, I'll see you again soon for more videos.